Let's together discover how radical acceptance can impact both your physical and your mental health and how it really improves your relationships. Hi everyone, this is me, Jyotika Bedi. I'm the founder of Happiness is Love. We make relationships better. Today I'm going to talk to you about what is radical acceptance and why should you learn to practice it, because it really is a skill. There is a famous saying that circulates freely all over social media channels and self-help books. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Although the quote has been misattributed to Buddha or Dalai Lama, this message is more important than the messenger. Pain is an inevitable part of life. Suffering, however, arises from not accepting the pain. What makes this quote helpful is that it not only discerns between pain and suffering, two concepts we often use interchangeably, but it also recognizes our unique power in the face of life's challenges. The difference is crucial and can save your life or your relationships. I want to talk about how we need to allow ourselves to keep pain from transforming into suffering and how it helps us see reality in a different way. And this is what I call radical acceptance. Before we get started, I want to first define what radical acceptance really means. Radical acceptance is accepting what is not under your control and embracing what is happening now in the most non judgmental way. When you wholeheartedly and radically accept emotional or physical pain, it reduces the suffering it causes. A leading psychologist introduced the idea of radical acceptance and sums up beautifully. Radical acceptance rests on letting go of the illusion of control and a willingness to notice and accept things as they are now without judging them, fighting them, blocking them, suppressing them, hiding them, or even pretending. It is a complete and total openness to the facts of reality as they are, without throwing a tantrum, without sulking, and without being angry. Lady Gaga shares how radical acceptance changed her life in an emotional and honest conversation about mental health and self care with Oprah, talking about how she balances pain and her creative process. She explains that the radical acceptance skills that she learned in her therapy helped her heal from trauma and how she uses that pain for her creative energy and her creative expressions. Not only does Oprah agree with Lady Gaga, but she gives an insight into what radical acceptance really is. All stress comes from wanting something to be what it isn't. And it doesn't change until you first accept it for what it is, and then you make a decision about what to do next. So, what is radical acceptance therapy? There's a therapy. Radical acceptance, like I said, is a skill that helps people who experience difficult situations or intense emotions. They learn to accept their reality. Radical acceptance is a skill which is taught in dialectical behavior therapy, an evidence based therapy developed by Marsha. However, radical acceptance can be learned as a skill and practiced on its own as well. Dialectical simply means the integration of opposites, the balance between two different ideas. The essence of this therapy is dynamic balance, acceptance of our life and our situation in life, and embracing change towards a better life. Bringing together two different ideas which enable us to move forward and be unstuck from extreme positions. Dialectics allows opposites to coexist. Let's give an example of how clients actually who underwent trauma use this and how it helped them. Marsha argues that dialectics and radical acceptance helps her patients because it shows how the patient's behavior, how it was caused, the meaning that the person behind that behavior was changing the narrative as a result of something that happened in their lives. And she concluded that I can love a parent or a partner and disapprove of him or her at the same time. Therapies that include radical acceptance are designed to stop the clients from having reactive behaviors and encourages them to respond to challenging situations skillfully. And this is shown to really even reduce substance use and relapse. So, as a tool, radical acceptance helps people accept themselves wholeheartedly. It increases well being and boosts positive emotions. Acceptance being the central force or factor in understanding even emotional disorders, as it is a predictor of psychological health in terms of anxiety, depression, stress, and happiness. Furthermore, emotional acceptance is related to resiliency, making people less likely to develop emotional disorders. But radical acceptance is a skill that has to be practiced. It can be challenging to master it. However, it is something which is worth your while. So make sure, I'm here to tell you it's not going to be easy, but I'm here to tell you it's going to be worth it. But make sure you are committed to practicing radical acceptance. Radical acceptance examples. Suffering typically arises, like I said, from not accepting pain. When reality is painful, it's natural to try and sweep it under the rug, push it down, or fight against it. We all do it. I do it, you do it. However, this strategy only provides temporary relief and is not helpful in the long run. There are many situations in your everyday life where you can practice radical acceptance. For example, very simple. If you're stuck in a traffic jam or in the subway, let's say the subway is not working, a typical reaction would be to get angry and irritated and frustrated. We start asking ourselves, why is this happening to me today? Why me? I have an important meeting to attend. I can't believe this is happening to me, right? We all do this. However, using radical acceptance might sound like, hmm, looks like we're not moving anymore. There is no point in fighting this traffic. Maybe let me call a friend, catch up with a loved one, or listen to an important podcast that I have been ignoring. This can help me relax before the important meeting I have today. While this can be very hard to practice when things get tough, however, like I said, it is your greatest learning opportunity. It's important to keep practicing this intentionally. So, the next question really is, and you might be thinking, how do I really practice this? Radical acceptance, like I said, is a skill that may help you cope better with your pain and suffering. Here, I would like to share a few things that I have learned which have helped me improve my well being, and I hope it helps you too. Number one, acknowledge the present. The most important part is to be mindful of your situation, simply recognizing that it exists in a non judgmental way. However, this does not mean you should accept abusive or manipulative behavior. It just means accepting the reality whether you like it or you don't. For example, you can wake up and notice there is no electricity in your house. Either you get very mad and think about how this shouldn't have happened to you on such an important day, or you acknowledge the reality that it is a challenge and it's an opportunity for you to practice acceptance and figure out the solution. Next, ask yourself if you can control or change the situation. If you can't control what's happening, why are you getting angry? It can be painful to acknowledge that you're not always in control, but it is also very liberating and freeing. We have no say when it rains, we can only accept it. Next, let go of judgment. Practical, radical acceptance means letting go of judgment and experiencing things as they are. You can improve your mindfulness skills by practicing meditation and being present in the moment. Next, most important, the past is the past. Remind yourself that the past cannot be changed. Past is gone. What you need to do is learn from the past, grow from the past. Going through painful times is not easy. The past, no matter if good or bad, has happened. When you examine difficult situations or emotions, you can lead a more fulfilling life. Next, Breathe. Deep breathing. This may sound simple, but it is extremely effective. Whenever you are fighting reality, your body gets tensed in parts like your shoulders, your face, even your stomach. Take deep breaths for a few moments and focus on the breath. When you practice watching your breath, you may ground yourself to the present moment and you become more relaxed. Most importantly, be intentional. Choose to practice radical acceptance on a daily basis. I'm here to challenge you and understand that it takes exercise to master it. It's also unrealistic to think that the first time you will try this skill, you will immediately get everything. No, it's not going to happen. Be intentional about practicing this and stay committed to your goal. And last, but most important, practice, practice, practice. Practice is the mantra. Make sure that in those challenging moments, you can see this video again, use the tools and the simple techniques that I've shared with you to put your learning to practice. Only then it's going to be meaningful. So I have curated some radical acceptance coping statements. Radical acceptance, like I said, requires practice and mastery. Coping mantras and breathing exercises will get you started. For example, if you find yourself in a situation where you feel overflooded, you can pause for a few seconds, breathe in and breathe out, and say some mantras. These are some coping statements you can use to practice it. You can say this out loud or in your mind, but the goal is whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, just chant these few statements. And believe me, they are very, very powerful, very, very effective. I can't change the past. I can only control the present moment. This situation is only temporary. I have no control over what happened in the past. I can accept things as they are. There is no point in fighting with the past or living in the future. I am letting go of these negative thoughts and negative emotions. I can accept myself just the way I am. I have no control over other people, what they say or do. I can only control my own response. I am choosing to focus on the present moment. This feeling will pass. This too shall pass. I am safe and I am protected. I hope these few mantras help you. The key is in applying them. Radical acceptance helps us in our relationships. Many studies have shown how beneficial radical acceptance can be for various conditions. In your families, you can work around this. You can help your family members. You can show them this video because, like I said, in relationships, radical acceptance means loving someone for who they are, no matter what their flaws or their quirks, in a non judgmental way. It is important to note that radical acceptance does not mean accepting abuse, maltreatment, or dangerous situations, but it means for you to work towards building healthy relationships. It means accepting the other person just how they are right now. For example, your significant other might prefer to sleep with a warm blanket, whereas you really don't need it. Rather than trying to fight the reality, you know your partner gets chilly at night. You may want to practice radical acceptance and figure out the solution. So, in the end, I just want to share with you what you need to do is just love people for who it is they are. I'm here to tell you that you can love parts, unlovable parts of your partner, your parents, your children, so that you are committed to loving them no matter what. However, it needs practice, it needs daily commitment, it needs your investment. Stop, pause, reflect, introspect. This can help you understand your emotional reactions and your triggers. For example, instead of getting angry, you can take a step back, take a deep breath, reflect on the situation that made you upset or made you angry or made you feel frustrated. By doing this, you will prevent arguments from escalating. Learn radical communication. All relationships are built on healthy communication, safety, and trust. You can practice active listening, or you can learn the tools of assertion. And we made a whole video on assertive communication, effective communication that will help you better your communication with yourself and your loved ones. Love them fully, like I said, even the unlovable parts of yourself and people around you. Sometimes they can be wrong or just annoying, but it's important to show love and acceptance. And this starts with you showing love and acceptance first to yourself and then to your loved ones. Lastly, make this your priority. Expressing love and prioritizing your learning, your growth, and your development is the greatest gift you can give your family. This is how we will build a better world and we will ensure that we all have happy, healthy relationships. What you need to do is just simply invest in your learning. You can figure out your partner's love language, or you can show your love in meaningful ways, or you can make it explicitly clear how important the relationship is to you. I hope this video was useful to you. I absolutely enjoyed every moment of making this with you because we at Happiness Love believe that together we are growing, together we are learning, together we are investing in our collective evolution because it is our responsibility to build a more self-aware and a happy future generation. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all the love, all the support, and the encouragement. Keep smiling, keep shining, keep inspiring.